Caitlin just carried Team USA this whole tournament all the way through, and they champions of this thing. And I must say, whoever making the calls, please don't put Chelsea Gray and Caitlin Clark on the court at the same time. Please don't. Not only was Caitlin Clark the best point guard playing on this team, definitely should be MVP of the whole FIBA World Cup tournament.
A head coach vanished from the Team USA sideline without a single word of explanation. Her replacement walked in and immediately tore apart the system that had been chaining down the league's most explosive talent. What he said next in front of the cameras exposed everything fans had been whispering about for weeks. Folks, this is your longtime voice from the broadcast booth, and I've called thousands of games in my career, but what unfolded during Team USA's FIBA qualifying tournament has left me speechless. I'm talking about the kind of drama that doesn't just affect one team or one tournament. This is the story that's shaking women's basketball to its very foundation right now. Let me walk you through exactly what happened step by step so everyone can understand why this is such a big deal. It all started when Caitlin Clark, the sensational point guard for the Indiana Fever, stepped onto the international stage for the first time with the senior national team. This is a player who has taken the WNBA by storm with her incredible passing ability and court vision. She sees plays developing before anyone else, and she can launch the ball down the court with pinpoint accuracy. In her debut against Senegal, Clark did something historic. She broke 5 FIBA world records in a single game. We're talking assists, shooting efficiency, all-around impact, records that no one in the history of international women's basketball had touched in one outing. The ball was flying, the pace was blistering, and Team USA looked unstoppable. Any basketball fan watching could see it. This young woman was the engine the team needed. But instead of building the offense around her obvious strengths, head coach Cara Lawson took a different approach. She started shuffling the rotations in strange ways. Clark would find herself moved off the ball or even sitting on the bench during crucial moments. It wasn't because she was struggling or injured. From everything we could see, the reason was this idea that every player on the roster deserved equal playing time. Lawson talked about team unity and how all these athletes were starters in their WNBA teams. On paper, it sounds fair and noble. Who doesn't love the idea of everyone contributing? But when your best player has just rewritten the record books, holding her back starts to look like a missed opportunity.
They put Caitlin Clark on the bench and sub her in with 4 minutes left in the quarter. What kind of momentum can a person possibly get? But they're not going to pass her the ball. They're not going to give her the minutes. It's the same crap. We knew that would happen.
I have to be honest with you here from the commentator's chair. This approach reminded me of watching a high-powered sports car stuck in traffic. Clark's natural game is all about speed, pushing the tempo, finding open shooters in transition, and creating chaos for the defense. When she was on the court running things, the ball moved beautifully. Assists piled up, teammates got easy looks, the offense flowed like a river, but when she was pulled back or sat down, everything slowed to a crawl. The team went into these slow, half-court sets where players stood around waiting for something to happen. It was like the spark had been taken away. Fans at home were yelling at their screens because the difference was night and day. You didn't need fancy stats to see it. The eye test told the whole story. What's even more interesting is who else was part of that coaching staff. Stephanie White, the head coach of the Indiana Fever, was right there with Lawson. White coaches Clark every day in the WNBA, and her style with the Fever has often involved keeping things more controlled, limiting how much Clark pushes the pace or handles the ball in certain situations. Having both coaches on the same page about slowing things down for Clark wasn't a coincidence. It started to feel like a specific philosophy was at play, one that seemed uncomfortable with letting Clark be the dominant force she clearly can be. Fans on social media started calling it out, and the frustration grew with every game. The tension came to a head in the game against Puerto Rico. The offense looked clunky and out of sync. Even Clark herself, always the professional, mentioned after the game that the pace had slowed too much and that zone defenses were giving them trouble. She suggested they needed to play faster, but she said it in that diplomatic way athletes do. Anyone paying attention knew what she really meant. Let me run the show and we'll be fine. You don't bench the player who's leading the entire tournament in assists and expect magic to happen automatically. The numbers don't lie, and the tape showed the team struggling without her at the controls. Then came the part no one saw coming. Heading into the matchup against New Zealand, Coach Cara Lawson was simply gone from the sideline. No announcement about an injury, no press conference explaining a reassignment, nothing. One day she was there answering questions and defending the rotations. The next day the bench looked different. To this day, the full reasons haven't been made completely clear, and that silence has only added fuel to the fire of speculation. Was there internal disagreement about how to use Clark? Had the pressure from the results gotten to be too much? Whatever the case, her absence created a vacuum that needed to be filled immediately. Stepping into that role was Nate Tibbitz, the head coach of the Phoenix Mercury. Tibbitz has a reputation around the league as a no-nonsense guy who looks at the game analytically and makes decisions based on what works. His very first move said everything. He put Caitlin Clark right into the starting lineup. No long meetings about sharing minutes, no speeches about giving everyone a fair shot. He looked at the talent and decided the best player should start. The lineup he rolled out featured veterans like Kelsey Plum alongside Clark, Paige Buchers, Ryan Howard, and Angel Reese. It was a mix that complemented each other perfectly. Shooters, scorers, defenders, all fitting around Clark's playmaking. The result? An absolute blowout. Team USA crushed New Zealand 101-46, a 55-point victory that sent shockwaves through the tournament. Clark was back to her record-setting ways, leading the team in assists and efficiency. The pace picked up immediately. Transition plays were everywhere. The ball zipped around the court, and the offense looked like the powerhouse everyone expected Team USA to be from the start. It was like night and day compared to the earlier games. I've called many big wins in my time, but this one had a different energy. You could see the players feeding off each other with Clark at the heart of it all. But the real moment that had reporters buzzing came after the game at the press conference. Tibbitz stood up there and did something coaches almost never do. He directly addressed the previous approach and basically said it hadn't worked. He talked about how the rotations had been mixed up too much, preventing the team from building real chemistry. When asked about the new starting lineup with Clark leading the charge, he praised how they played together and made it clear this was the way forward. No vague coach speak, no protecting the previous staff. He laid it out there for everyone to hear. In the world of high-level coaching, where loyalty and careful words are the norm, this was like a bombshell. He essentially admitted the earlier strategy around Clark had been a mistake and the results proved it. Now let's talk about what this all means moving forward, because this isn't just some one-off tournament drama. Team USA is looking ahead to the 2028 Olympics right here in Los Angeles, and the decisions made now will shape that team. The big question on everyone's mind is whether Cara Lawson returns to her role. If she does, will she go back to the old way of doing things, limiting Clark's minutes or role for the sake of team balance, or will the organization see the massive improvement under Tibbitz and make it permanent? A 55-point win and record performances aren't easy to ignore. The data is there. When Clark runs the show, Team USA becomes the dominant force they should be. This story also connects straight back to the WNBA and the Indiana Fever. Stephanie White is still Clark's coach there, and the contrast between what we saw internationally and how things sometimes look in pro games is hard to overlook. Clark broke records and led blowouts when given the freedom to push the pace and create. What could the Fever do in the upcoming 2026 season if that same approach takes hold domestically? The pieces are already in place. Aaliyah Boston is a strong presence in the front court, anchoring everything. Players like Sophie Cunningham bring shooting and toughness from the wings, thriving when a point guard like Clark is finding them in rhythm. Cunningham doesn't need the ball in her hands constantly. She spaces the floor and makes defenses pay. Put her in a fast-paced system with Clark's vision, and opposing teams are in real trouble. As someone who's watched the evolution of the game, what Tibbitz proved in this short time is what many fans have been saying for a while. Caitlin Clark is a generational talent. When you let her play her game, pushing tempo, seeing those no-look passes, creating opportunities in the open court, the results speak for themselves. Historic, record-breaking results. When you try to contain that, moving her off the ball or sitting her to spread minutes evenly, the whole team suffers. The offense bogs down, the energy drops. It's not about one player being selfish, it's about using your best weapon effectively. The international stage just provided the clearest evidence yet. Of course, Clark herself stayed classy through it all. No public complaints, no drama in interviews. She just showed up, played hard, and let her performance do the talking. That kind of maturity from such a young star only makes the situation more compelling. It puts the focus where it belongs, on the coaching decisions and how they impact the team's success. So where does this leave women's basketball? Lawson's departure remains somewhat mysterious, even if there were professional reasons behind it. Tibbitz's interim period delivered the most convincing victory of the qualifiers. Clark has shown without any doubt that she's the centerpiece this program should build around. And with the 2026 WNBA season approaching fast, all these questions about roles and systems are about to play out in front of packed arenas every night for the Fever. From my seat in the commentator's booth, this moment feels like a turning point. For too long, there seemed to be hesitation about fully embracing what Clark brings to the floor. The fear of making one player too central perhaps, or concerns about fitting everyone else in. But basketball at its best is about stars shining and elevating those around them. We've seen it with legends in the past. What Tibbitz did was simple basketball logic. Identify your best player and build from there. The 55-point margin and those shattered records prove it works. The ripple effects are going to be huge. Other coaches around the league will be watching closely. Fans are more engaged than ever. Young players coming up will see that taking risks and playing with pace can lead to special things. This wasn't just about one game or one coach change. It was the moment the sport confronted some tough questions about how to handle transcendent talent. And if the right lessons are learned, women's basketball could be heading into its most exciting era yet.